Ubisoft says that XDefiant has fallen behind expectations, as reported here on Insider Gaming by Tom Henderson. Now, many of you remember my encounter with Insider Gaming with the Division 3 news, where they seem to have gotten wind that there were no plans for Division 3, and then all of a sudden there were, reports, and then there was an official announcement that there was going to be a Division 3. I strongly believe that at the time they probably got that information, there were no plans, or they got the information from a proxy that had no clue what was going inside of Ubisoft Massive. Those are the only two ways I can chalk it. However, this XDefiant news today is coming from Yves Guillermo's confirmation that XDefiant has fallen behind expectations among the company's struggles. This week, and according to Tom Henderson, the news that XDefiant is struggling went somewhat under the radar following what is arguably one of Ubisoft's most challenging periods in recent memory. First, it was announced that Assassin's Creed Shadows is to be delayed until early 2025, followed by several announcements at the company as a whole, including Ubisoft's board launching an investigation into the company's struggles. As part of these major announcements, Ubisoft held a trading call update during which Guillermo answered questions about why the company had reduced its second quarter revenue expectations by 30%. Nicholas Langlet of BNP Paribas asks, so the Q2 guidance, is it only Star Wars Outlaws, or is there something else underperforming in that in the portfolio? Guillermo replied, it reflects the softer than expected sales of Star Wars Outlaws. We also had behind expectations for XDefiant, which we will give you a bit more detail at the end of October, he continued. Now that all this is going on, I wonder if there is a unique game or some game that has a very interesting, unique selling point, a market appeal to an audience that is at least over 10 million that can probably come in and give Ubisoft an edge when all is... Oh, wait, look, it's the Division. Oh, man. What in the world is this going on in Ubisoft when somewhere, somehow, they had this game sitting in servers, they had files, they had talents, they had knowledge of the game. They could have harnessed all of what they had learned over many, many years with a community that enjoyed and loved their game, including people discovering the game. And instead, they decided to pimp out the assets to make a free-to-play FPS game. Well, I guess we can now say that somewhere, somehow, it's not paying off exactly as they had envisioned. And probably their ambitions were too wild. You see, we could even go on the Ghost Recon side in this conversation and still be on point. Because XDefiant is filled with, Ubisoft IPs that are liked, that are good sellers in terms of, say, shooters or action games. And somewhere, somehow, they did not take advantage of this. And I think it's very unfortunate at the end of the day, seeing how they're struggling when they had formulas pretty much sitting in their doorstep. The Star Wars issue and the Assassin's Creed issue are, pretty much right now the polarized gaming scene. That's one of the major factors that you can cite. Then there's the side of the games not being up to quality. Outlaws had its problems when it launched. I mean, the developers had to come out and do a big, massive patch, pun intended, right? And this was supposed to go ahead and help the game, be able to get more appeal from the gaming community overall. So things like that, it's not easy for you to miss, especially in a market that is already stressed with oversaturation and an economy of this nature worldwide. I think if we actually had to chalk it up, Ubisoft did not leverage some of its strengths and did not envision seeing, an economy that was going to look like this. They now have to navigate through this. In fact, some Division fans are not certain that there's going to be a Division 3. They think it's going to be gone. I strongly think there'll be a Division 3 simply because the shareholders like that game. That's the only saving grace that I think that game has. Because the shareholders are looking on the books and like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, they're like, why are we making Star Wars with Disney, who would control the production of the game, in the most, supervisory way? They'll be sitting there and holding hands of creativity when we have a game that we already have an established audience for. Like, I can't be an investor and not think that. And as a gamer, I can't even think that either. It's the obvious thing that Ubisoft should have been playing all this while. So Ubisoft, you have a community that is here that would actually, in a sense, patronize you. As long as you make a game that they want and like, don't go fool yourself into thinking that you're going to drop a turd and anybody is going to want to deal with that. Having dealt with a lot of the challenges from Division 1 and 2, and you all know we've dealt with a lot of challenges, this is an opportunity for them to be able to flesh out, fine-tune a Division experience based on a lot of what they have and bring it to light. The problem, though, that I see here and the challenge that I see is that demographics has changed a lot in the last few years. You had a window where you could really leverage all of the people that are in the Division community to actually continue to grow and bring in more people. That window was squandered. They wanted to make Division Heartland, which was a game that, to be honest, I never really was certain about how it was going to vibe, because the news and the reports were that it was a PvP game. And their Division community, as much as you all would tell me that the Division is this and PvP, PvE has still become the driver of the game. So they really need to either do something with being able to keep those players that like PvP, in their next iteration. Yes, I'm not saying that, PvP is irrelevant. I'm just saying, like, for the most part, PvE has always been the driving force and, kind of like their sales, metrics, the thing that actually brings them money from apparel events and all of this stuff. They need to find a way now, seeing that they know exactly what players like in PvP, and be very, much more intentional. They haven't been intentional for the last few years. And I think this is what has been driving a lot of players away from the ecosystem overall. So Ubisoft, right now is a time for you not to mess around. Stick with what you know how to do. Leave all these movie games alone. Avatar did not pan out, because movies and games, they all, work differently. The way you produce a game and the way you produce a movie, it's a very, very different, it's a very different, it's two different production pipelines. So stick with the games, stick with the audiences that you know. These audiences are here to rock with you. Ironically, it's Rainbow Six Siege, that's basically doing well. But Rainbow Six Siege already is a big player in the market. So it's like, XDefiant was going up against another Ubisoft IP that's basically established, that has a strong footing in the industry amidst a very huge saturated industry. What's needed is a unique game with a unique selling point and an audience and a community that's willing to play it. I think they have the Division, and I think they need to use it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate y'all so much. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Peace out.